and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Number one, it's the most devastating wildfire in U.S. history. The people of Lahaina were displaced. We're seeing celebrities and venture capitalists the hell was it? Vulture capitalists fly in. We're seeing a failure of leadership at every single level. The only people that are stepping up are the people themselves. Now, recently, Tulsi Gabbard was on the Joe Rogan show. She returned back to talk about the devastating Lahaina wildfire. And now I got two video segments from Kanakoa the Great. This is his Twitter account, so hopefully people can follow them and, again, check out their content. But look, again, let's be very clear here. $700 sent to Lahaina households, billions sent to Ukraine. I mean, at this point, listen, people of Maui, I'm going to make a controversial statement here, but just pretend, just for a few weeks, just call yourself Ukraine, send a letter to Biden, and I'm willing to bet at the bare minimum, you'll get $1 billion check. Because at this point, how is it? How? Billions go to Ukraine, $700 to Lahaina households. If that's not a slap in the mouth, I don't know what is. And again, we're hearing how communities are being devastated. We're hearing how people are being pushed back and not getting any answers. So I want to play this video. So let's go ahead and check it out.
They were completely overwhelmed and unprepared for this unprecedented wildfire. It's the worst wildfire our country has seen in over 100 years. But the problem is, once you get to that point, like, oh shit, this is really, really, really bad. Not only in.
By the way, I'm kind of surprised to hear Tulsi swear. I don't know. That's just a different side note altogether. But you know, when I hear it, it's like, whoa, Tulsi, you just swore. You don't look like a person who swears.
And in the hundreds of lives lost in that fire, but the surrounding communities of people who survived, but who went without power, who went without any cell phone signal, any ability to communicate with people, who didn't have, all of the gas stations in their neighborhood, they were empty. There was no way to get gas. They couldn't get food. They couldn't get clean water. The water supply systems were contaminated. I mean, there was disaster upon disaster that came in the aftermath of the fire that went unaddressed. And my biggest, I went there a few days after the fire happened. Maui was my district for 8 years when I served in Congress, and had a lot of friends there, and went out to those affected communities. And what I heard over and over again was, no one from the county, the state, or the federal government has shown their face in our community. It is neighbors helping neighbors, families helping families, people on the island of Molokai, which they don't have much on their island. Everything comes in by barge. They're loading up whatever they have in their general store on these little boats and running them over to West Maui on a private boat dock, because that was the only place that they wouldn't be blocked from bringing food and water and medical supplies.
Now, I want to pause it here, and I want to bring up this video. This is a collage video. I think it's important that we do address it, and I want to give a shout out to Citizen Free Press that was able to put it together. But again, we need to talk about, again, how FEMA interfered with aid operations. This is what Tulsi Gabbard has been elaborating on, and so many others, including our previous guest, Shelby Thompson, as well as our other guests as well, Craig Pasajardula, who was recently there in Maui. Again, it's the people that are taking the initiative to set up stores and aid relief. FEMA and all these other institutions are not helping the people. So let's play this video and check it out.
I think it's in 1,000, not hundreds. And this newscast is still watching the news, 114, stocked on that number for several days. No, there's no way. There's more than that.
FEMA took away all the stuff that the local people was giving out on the side of the road and said, no, okay, we're going to take over. Yeah, they took over. This guys went down to Lahaina with a lowboy with all the water and all this stuff. And they hoarded all of that stuff. They took it away from everybody. Why? The locals was doing a killer job. They opened up, spots here, there. Our small county was doing.
Now, what does this tell you about our government, our first responders, our institutions that we're supposed to put trust and faith in. These facilities that you see before you that were set up by just regular people, people like you and me, because the people in Maui, they're just like us. They theoretically, in theory, should not do this at all and should not be the mainstream. But this is, and this should tell you the lack of care and concern our politicians have for us. I said this on the show, and I'm just going to be very honest here. Looking at these dynastic politicians, looking at these quote unquote leaders who are indifferent, who are corrupt, who can be bribed, I have to view both Democratic and Republican politicians in one simple word: they're not human. They can't be human. I've never seen such callousness. I've never seen such indifference, stupidity, and maliciousness all put together in one. How are these our leaders? Is this truly the best we can do? Because at this point, if this is, then there is no incentive to really be involved in this republic. We as citizens have to stand up and say, this is not right. The people who are representing us are saying that it's okay for a civilian to do this, but these institutions that we build up, oh, well, we can't do it here, not enough paperwork, but we could put our guys and gals in a 5-star resort, though. Because that's what's happening.
Doing the same thing. You know, they was giving out meds, they was doing all this stuff. Everybody was trying, the local people, everybody was just all working together. And then FEMA and all these guys come in and they kiboshed. And then they wonder why nobody believes in Red Cross and FEMA and all these guys.
As far as most of the locals, like the native locals, are concerned, this is basically a war crime.
When something happened, a disaster happened, oh, let's get their money, let's buy their land, let's offer them very cheap, 100,000, but we'll resell for $1 million or maybe $1 billion.
And the next day I came back to get my animals, and I saw all the vehicles that I was like standing in traffic to escape town. They were still in there, all burned down. And it was only locals pulling bodies out of the water and pulling people out of the water because we had no help.
Testifying on my concerns of the governor's emergency proclamation that happened 3 weeks prior to the fire.
They already had stuff in the planning and everything passed. You know, their plans was all passed already. And that's why everybody thinks that, hey, you know, they created this fire. They did this.
May God bless all those we've lost. May God find those who we haven't determined yet. And may God bless you all. May God protect our troops.
That's our president, ladies and gentlemen. I want to continue on with the rest of this video here of Tulsi Gabbard on Joe Rogan's show, because again, so much is left unanswered. Democrats, you can't look me in the face and say everything's going to be fine. There is an anger brewing. And we're going to be talking about Joe Biden's approval rating very soon later on the show, and just how much of an epic failure his entire administration is. And the audacity of him to actually go to the people of Lahaina and tell them about such, oh, his house almost burnt down too. The only difference is between Joe Biden's house and the people of Lahaina is, well, Joe Biden's house is still there, along with his dog, his car, and his cat, his car, and his wife. They're still there. They're still there. People Lahaina, they don't have that luxury. They don't have that privilege. Joe 30330. Hey, Bernie, that's your good friend, Joe Biden.
Now, why are people being blocked? I keep hearing that about people being blocked. Is it because they haven't gotten an accurate death count? Is it because they have to make an assessment of how much was damaged, and it's so massive, it's so vast that they haven't been able to do that yet? Like, why is it being blocked?
Things are being opened up now. I think people are able to get in and out of the West Maui area. I understand that the historic town of Lahaina is still being blocked off, and they're working on reopening it as we speak. But in the couple of weeks after the fire, I don't have a good answer why they continue to block the roads, again, to those surrounding communities, why they blocked people like Kai Lenny and others from using their jet skis and boats to try to bring supplies in through the water. You could say, well, we were trying to secure the area, but you're blocking friends and family from coming in and bringing necessary supplies, literally doing supply runs. So, I jumped on a plane that was doing supply runs from Kahului, the main airport on Maui, out to this tiny little airport that serves that community. And that was, for a lot of days, the only way that they could get supplies brought in. I don't know. I really don't know. But again, this goes back to, why aren't you communicating to people what's going on and why you're doing what you're doing? All the result of their decisions left people and families and communities stranded in their most dire time of need. And the mayor didn't go out and show his face until almost 2 weeks after the fire happened.
I also want to add into the point, the mayor didn't even acknowledge or was aware of the death toll until 12 hours later, the day after. Again, massive wall of flame pouring through Lahaina. Fires left unchecked. First responders, firefighters can't battle it. The water is shut off. Communities being burnt down. People being burnt alive. Men, women, children, the elderly, pets. Gone like that. How can you say you're not aware of the death toll after seeing that devastating fire come through? Why even say that and have it on public record? This mayor of Hawaii, or not mayor of Hawaii, this mayor of Lahaina, right? I'm not going to say you're the dumbest politician that I've ever covered on this show, but you're up there. Probably the most ignorant. That was a very ignorant thing to say, though. I mean, let's say I was in your shoes, or one of my audience members was in your shoes. You see this fire in Lahaina, and you just got to be like, some people died. And again, keeping the death toll like, 115, 114, even though there's 1,000 people, 850, between 1,000 unaccounted for. Did you find them yet? Does anybody know? Why was it that regular people were pulling dead bodies out of the ocean? Why were the roads blocked off? Why did all of this happen? Who was in charge? Did anybody know what they're doing? That robust siren system. When we had Craig Jardula on our show, and just recently, Shelby Thompson, you know what they both said? Hey, those, at least talking to people, including Shelby, who's a resident, and Craig, who went there to talk to residents of Lahaina and Maui, those sirens are supposed to work. They didn't. And again, they're designed to help people be aware of typhoons, hurricanes, earthquakes, terrorist attack, man-made disaster, volcanoes. And I hope you're sitting down for this one. It's crazy. But even wildfires, I know. I know wildfires. Ain't that a thing?
That's insane.
It's crazy.
And
It's
then
insane.
says he wants to take the land for the state. That's his first.
Now,
word.
this is
I think
one of
the
the reasons.
governor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
yeah, the
one of the reasons
governor,
why I wanted
sorry.
to talk about this. Like, how is that possible? That these people could lose their home and then lose their land? Like, how is that possible?
It is the number one concern of people there in Lahaina, is that a few days after this happened, I haven't spoken to the governor, but he said in a press conference, he said, we're talking to the attorney general. He said, I'm talking to my attorney general to explore options for the state to take over that land and use it to build workforce housing or build a memorial to the for the
sounds
people who
so
lost
insane.
their lives.
Yeah.
But the fears that the people in Lahaina have, some of whom, like Archie Kalepa, famous surfer, community leader, Native Hawaiian leader, his family has lived in Lahaina for 9 generations, now being told, well, the state, the governor is looking at taking that land, taking ownership of that land, that it is unconscionable. And there's, we'll for those who've been displaced, we'll see about doing a land swap and we'll send you to the Big Island to live in Puna.
Jesus.
taking away the sovereignty of people's rights to have a say over their home, in many cases their generational lands, is it is such an abuse of power. And so,
And this isn't the first time. We talked about that telescope that was being built on Native Hawaiian land. Again, no one asked the Native Hawaiians how they felt about it. And this was done way back in 2019, for those of you who've been with Hardlands Media from the beginning. But this thing is being built. Native Hawaiians being screwed over. If you look at the whole history of Hawaii, the Kingdom of Hawaii, and how it eventually got occupied, how the land was taken away, what happened to the royal family, it is a very sad and ongoing brutal chapter of humanity. And the fact that, again, people won't get their homes back, or it's going to be swapped, or the governor is going to take it away, I just can't help but think somebody wearing an authoritative uniform looking down at us and saying, you will own nothing and be happy. Just follow orders, comply, and eat the bugs.
so this is, and I'm glad that there are leaders in the community who are leaning into this fight to make sure that they are fighting this fight before anybody tries to do that, rather than looking in the rearview mirror and saying, gosh, I wish we had done something.
But just imagine a governor going on television after a massive tragedy where you have, we don't even know the number of people dead yet. You have this massive area that's been burnt to the ground.
Yeah.
And then he starts talking about taking it over for the state. That's an insane position to take.
It is.
Post tragedy.
But we will see this again. Look what's happened to the people of East Palestine, Ohio, too. Again, 4,000 people were exposed to dangerous chemicals. Again, dangerous chemicals. We're not designed to be around that kind of stuff. And what can happen? Well, the land value becomes lower. Community is still not getting relief. Joe Biden is yet to visit. I mean, Pete Buttigieg was there wearing, I guess, what? An orange vest and a hard hat. He looked like he could be blown away by the wind. He was there. He's the only one of the administration that showed up. Home ownership is becoming a legend now in America. It's no longer a dream. It's no longer a myth. It's becoming a legend. Did you know once, a long, long time ago, you could own a house in America? Goodness gracious, Cretaceous.
People are suffering at their most. They can't even believe it happened.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's saying, we're going to take it for the state and make a memorial. How about give the fucking people their homes back?
Exactly.
You know, one of the things we went over yesterday, which is a crazy number, we were looking at the amount of money that was accidentally sent to Ukraine. Like they oversent.
Isn't that something? Hey, I accidentally sent you some money. Hey, I accidentally sent you $1 billion. Can you give it back? Give what back? It's like that episode of The Simpsons where Homer, Mr. Burns, and Mr. Smithers, they go to Cuba. They show Fidel Castro a $1 trillion bill. He says, hey, we're all comrades here. Can I see it? Grabs it, puts it in his jacket. Mr. Burns says, can I have it back? And he says, give what back? Yeah, I accidentally sent you some money. Some things happen. We'll run it by Joey numbers.
$6 billion. And then I said, well, how much would it cost to rebuild every house in the Maui fire? And it's $5 billion, $5 billion something.
Yeah.
Like that's just like accidental money. Yeah. But there's no talk of doing that. Yeah. There's no talk of doing that. Isn't that interesting?
The way, and it's happened 2 or 3 times now where the Pentagon has said, oh, we miscalculated how much money we had set aside for Ukraine. So we have an extra $4 billion to send now that we didn't know we had. And this has happened a few times.
Isn't that great? Like, hey, people of Flint, Michigan, what's more important, clean drinking water or bombs for Ukraine? Hey, people of East Palestine, Ohio, what's more important, a clean, safe community with no chemicals or tanks for Ukraine? Hey, people of Maui, what's more important, a roof over your head and your community restored? Or, hey, more weapons for Ukraine? I'll let you decide. Hey, folks, You know what? Let's have a controversial thing take place here. We're going to have democracy in the chat. I know. I don't even know what that looks like. Type 1 if you think sending money to Ukraine is the most important thing ever because it's super special. It's to stop Putin. It's to stop Trump. And it'll be great. Or type 2, no, we need to help out the American people. That money, it'd be better if we helped ourselves out. I wonder how many 2s we're going to get in the chat. I only can wonder. I only can wonder. I could theorize.
Secretary of State Tony Blinken went to Kiev yesterday promising, hey, we're going to give you another $1 billion now. And this is the thing. When I was out there in Maui, person after person was like, Tulsi, tell me what would happen if we started to call ourselves Ukraine. You think they would give us some money then to take care of our families, to fix our roofs?
Yes.
You know, that had been torn up by the hurricane winds that came.
The answer is yes, Tulsi. If we all called ourselves Ukraine, I think all of us would get money. You know what? Each of you should change your last name to Zelensky and see what happens. Well, I bet you get a check.
Through to make sure we have clean water to drink. You think they might pay attention to us then? And then FEMA comes out. The FEMA director comes out and does this press conference. I think it was at the White House. And she says, well, somebody said, well, what are you doing for Maui? She's like, oh, we're giving a one-time $700 payment to everybody who's been impacted by the wildfire. A one-time $700 payment.
It's insane.
Hawaii has the highest cost of living in the entire country. The entire country. And how freaking insulting is it to have the lead disaster response administrator from the Biden administration stand there and proudly say, hey, we're giving everybody one $700 payment.
It's insane. And it's insane, especially because of how much money we're sending to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Because there can be no doubt that these things are financially motivated now.
They have to be. They have to be. And it's a failure of leadership. And again, speaking of leadership and failure, again, the fires. Again, this is this video clip is again, thank you to Kanakoa the Great. Thank you so much. Be sure to again play just a little bit about it, because again, we have to talk about why those sirens failed.
I don't know.
And what about the guy sounding the alarm? Now he resigns. Well, does that mean he's not going to be criminally charged for criminal negligence? And I mean, you're talking 1,000 people.
The guy who was on Oahu when the fires happened, he didn't show his face in public to the media or to the community until 8 or 9 days after the crisis. The guy who should have been talking to the media every single day in the hours and days after, he didn't show his face in public until day 8 or 9.
And that's been a running theme too about all those leaders, all these executives, all these people in power. They didn't show their faces until days after. Days after. Now, let's say you right now who are going to work right now or at your job right now. Let's say an accident took place and you didn't show up for like a few days. And it was partially your fault, or how dare I say it was all your fault. Hypothetical scenario. You're the best hardworking person I know. But let's just say that happened. What would happen to you guys? Would option A, oh, everything's fine, go back to work, buddy, it's all good. Or option B, you are so fired you will never be rehired. It's going to probably be option B. Imagine, like, again, I'm in charge of Hard Lens Media. I don't go live for about a week, 2 weeks. You know, the buck stops with me. I'm in charge of it. Hey, Kit, what's going on with the show? Hey, Kit, you got a team to take care of all this other kind of stuff. Again, the head of the emergency management doesn't show up for 8 days. People are dead. People are homeless. People are suffering. People are starving. And you're not going to show up for 8 days? 8 days.
And that was when he said that he didn't regret sounding the alarm system. which is a whole other, like, his response made no sense whatsoever. And then he resigned
Do you know him
the day
personally?
after. I don't.
What is the controversy about the alarm system?
So that was the question. It was like, Hawaii has a state-of-the-art alarm system. We are the most remote island chain in the world. And as a result, natural disasters is kind of a part of life. Tsunamis or hurricanes.
That's what made it big.
Flooding or whatever the case
We have
may
the best,
be.
right? We're supposed to have the best.
They were not sounded because of these fires. And that was the number one question. Why wouldn't you sound the alarm system? We had to wait until 8 or 9 days after when he came out to this press conference and he was asked, do you regret not sounding the alarms? Because they weren't broken. They worked. And he said, I don't regret it. And the reason is because he says, we have been trained as people when we hear the alarm, we believe that a tsunami is coming. And we have been trained to know that if a tsunami is coming, you head towards the hills. You head away from the ocean and towards the mountains. That is such bullshit.
Somebody told him that line. That's the best line you can come with.
BJ, you know this because we all get the alarms on our phones.
Yep.
Say, hey, there was an earthquake near Japan.
Yep.
Tsunami may come to Hawaii in 3 days or 4 days.
Little side note, I actually have an alarm app like that on my phone. Now, you're saying, well, Kit, why do you have that alarm app on your phone? Well, when I visited Japan, my family members who live there said, hey, Kit, you need to download this app in case you're somewhere in town or, you know, you're doing your own thing somewhere in Tokyo. You should have this app on you so you're made aware if there's an earthquake, because they do happen. And yes, I think 3 light earthquakes happened to me when I was in Japan, but they also are designed to let you know about the other outer regions too, including areas like in Hawaii, right? So that is a thing that does work. And in Japan, they don't play around with that. It's rather depressing that there was a failure to not sound the alarm.
Be aware. And we got all of our geologists and all these people, they're tracking this. We have, like, a tsunami doesn't pop up out of nowhere. That's something that we have. So if that alarm sounds and we haven't gotten that notice, there's something else.
And we would know, like this, there's
there
something
was
else.
Smoke.
You just
like
look at the ocean.
Couldn't they send an alarm to your phones that said there's a fire?
Yes.
And we're going to stop there. We're going to stop here. So already on Hardlands Media, we spoke to 2 people. First of all, independent journalist Craig Jardula, who is talking about what he saw there firsthand in Maui. We spoke to Shelby Thompson, who is a resident of Maui. And they're all saying the same thing. And even these videos here, Tulsi Gabbard saying the same thing. All the other individuals who are on the ground, regular citizens, are all saying the same thing. We were abandoned. We were failed. No one helped the people. And they're still suffering to this day. Leadership, zero accountability. The institutions, zero accountability. Relief for the people, that's not happening. Only a one-time $700 payment. Oh, what kind of relief is happening? Oh, hey, Oprah and The Rock are doing something, but oh, no, they're still asking you for money. The big takeaway from this entire story is this. Lahaina isn't the first canary in the coal mine. It's the one of many thousands. Get this through your heads, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Green, Independent, Boomer, Gen Xer, Millennial, Gen Z, young and old, no matter the color of your skin or who you worship. The people who are in the key positions of power do not like you, they don't think about you, and they don't respect you. Why are you not angry? Please tell me, what is your excuse not to be angry? Because we need to get involved. The people need to step up, because this isn't right. And if this can happen again, it most certainly will. What is our breaking point?